Call the Parks and Recreation Advisory meeting to order. And if you'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we do roll call, please?
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's, announcements and agenda modifications. Do we have any?
We have one agenda modification. It'll be the introduction of our Parks and Recreation Director, Richard Blankenship, who's with us today.
Mr. Bitton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just want to take a moment, and no better time than now to introduce Mr. Blankenship to each of you. Mr. Blankenship was hired. He started last Tuesday with the city as our Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Director. So his responsibilities include Parks and Recreation Department, Public Facilities Department, and he also oversees the cemetery maintenance, in which we kind of parlay the cemetery a little bit underneath the Parks Department. Although they do have additional staff, I want to clarify that. So with that, Mr. Blankenship brings over 30 years of experience in Parks and Recreation. I think that's right, it might be 35. I'm trying to run the numbers real quickly in my head. And he has experience as a director, whether it be at a county director down in Martin County. He was the state director for the Seminole Indian tribe. He oversaw their 7 locations all across the state of Florida. And most recently, he was at Riviera Beach as their Parks and Recreation Director for 7 years. So when you add all those up, I think he has over 15 years as a Parks and Recreation Director in all different levels, from municipality to a county to a state, overseeing with the Seminole tribe. So I think he brings a wealth of knowledge to the city. Some of the things that we've kind of discussed, numerous projects and different priorities, and I think he can come in and take a fresh look at the city. I feel like there's plenty of areas we can improve. We can continue to get better. The dynamics, the demographics of the city are changing slightly every single day. And so I think kind of parlaying all that together and introducing Mr. Blankenship as our new director will generate some great things. And so I just wanted to take a few moments to introduce him, give you all a little bit of information on his background, and I'm sure you all will get to know him very well, and he'll be a great resource for you all as we continue to move the city forward and improve our Parks and Recreation Department as a whole. So thank you all.
Well, welcome, Mr. Blankenship.
Yep, welcome.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you in. Now you're overseeing Paradise.
Yeah.
This is the
And I'm
place.
excited to be here.
So the next item, does anyone have any comments or anything to share for Mr. Blankenship?
Just welcome aboard. I hope you enjoy the experience.
Always call me.
What? Always. Always?
You'll pass it on.
You're on my speed dial, you sure?
Okay, our
I love
next
it.
agenda item is the approval of minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
Does anyone have any modifications, or I'd entertain a motion?
Make a motion
Chair, I
to
make a
approve the
motion
last
we
minutes.
accept.
Oh. Go.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Madam Chair, just one point of order there. Oh no, we're missing 2 full-time. You're good. Okay,
We're
good.
okay. I know what you're going to say, Brian. Okay, do I have a second? Mr. Allen seconded.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Public input, we don't have anyone here. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
All right. Next agenda item is unfinished business. We have our update, please.
Sorry. So For current projects update, we're still moving forward, but we're in the planning process and they're building the creative playground. Won't have an exact date of delivery for you just yet. When we hear from them, I'll give you the first update. We've completed the Filbert Street playground. We have all the mulch in. The last thing we need to do to complete the project is to add the ADA required parking space and a sidewalk providing path up to the entrance. We're also going to tie in the sidewalk going to the pavilion at that park, Filbert. So it'll provide a lot of access for very little cost. I think it's the right thing to do. And I had a few questions last time at the last meeting. We talked about trimming some trees down at at Riverview Park, where the people park to look out at the water. And it's mostly mangroves. 100% of everything is mangroves down there. So we're able to, we would be able to hire a contractor. We don't have anybody in the city that has a license to trim mangroves. I do believe you have to be an arborist to have that license. It'll be about $1,200 to $1,400 to trim the mangroves. And that's only trimming 18 inches off of them. And if it's more than 60 feet around, you can only trim 18 inches off the sides of them as well.
So, if we trim 18 inches off of them now, they can stay that height? Or,
We can trim them, and then next year, we'll have to trim them again.
so what is I thought something about 6 feet. They aren't 6 feet though, are they?
Eventually, if you trim them enough, you can get them down to the 6 foot.
Oh, they're
Right.
higher than 6 feet right now?
They're almost 13 feet high
Oh my
from the
gosh.
water line.
So every year they can do a little bit at a
Right.
time? And then what's the minimum then, do you know?
The minimum window is 6 feet.
That's the lowest, okay. And you have to have a special person to be able to cut those?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I know that, but that's interesting. So the money comes out of, to do that?
It would have to come from, we haven't budgeted it, so the money would have to come from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
And that would be a yearly cut then?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, so, kind of taking a little bit of a different look at this. I think your concerns, if I remember correctly from the previous meeting, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, your concerns were people parking their cars and not being able to see the water. By trimming these mangroves, you're not going to accomplish that task. I think that, our approach to this should be to clean them up a little bit. I know there's some vines and some things in the past. I didn't look at them this weekend, but cleaning them up a little bit. But I don't know that trimming them, we do need to trim them and maintain them, but you're not going to get the result that you're looking for to give it a clear view of the waterway. I think unfortunately that approach, you're going to have to get out of your vehicle and walk 30 feet to the right and look out over the water and take a seat on the observation deck from that. I just, so I want to be careful on committing to, trimming these mangroves on an annual basis or looking to do it annually, because we're never going to get to the result of them being able to be trimmed back enough so that you can see.
What about the sides of them? Instead of them bushing out this way, if we were to keep them?
Well, you got to remember, with mangroves being federally protected, you're not going to be able to trim them as much as you really, the end result you think it would be. It's just not going to happen. We have to protect the mangroves. They're there for a reason. They're there to protect the shoreline, and they are a great resource for that. They protect that shoreline really well there. That's where we saw the least amount of erosion during the most recent hurricanes. So I'm just, from my perspective, really hesitant to trim them up too much, because we will lose some of that there, and we need to make sure that we're protecting our natural resources in that area, and I think that's an important one.
But there are some open spaces in between those, right? They're not all mangroves, aren't there some open spaces?
There are some small open spaces,
So
but I still, at the end of the day, I think if you look at them, and we'll go take a really close look at it, but I think you get into the factor of even trimming those up, you're still not gonna open up enough eyesight pathway from sitting in a car to be able to see the river. I'm just a little concerned about that from hearing it at last meeting and now hearing it today. I don't know that we get the benefit of what you're trying to accomplish by trimming those back.
Any comments about that? Do we have any? I kind of like them. It's a little bit of a windbreak when it's windy, and I actually think it's nice for people to get out of their car. There are some, there are other opportunities for places on Indian River Boulevard to park and to have a clearer view of the river, if that's your choice. There's the parking spaces next to Krabby Bill's that are not at all obstructed for riverfront. So I would hate to commit funds that we can use for more equipment or things that come up or community requests and parks than to do annual 6 inches. 6 inches is not a lot if that's all we can take off from the top down. I don't think that's going to make a big difference.
No, I think we were hoping that we could get them enough. And I do go there at times, and I'll bring my newspaper and sit, and I can walk, but I look at other people that are there, and there are many people that can't walk.
And they sit. I know
But they
sit in
can't
their car
walk,
and
and
have
so
breakfast.
this is a relaxing place for them. So if it's not going to make that much difference, then I don't know if we want to put the money into it anyway. But that's why I was wondering, between those bushes, if we can keep that part down at least.
I mean, I think probably the best approach is to allow staff to go down and do an evaluation. We do use a local arborist to trim the mangroves at Main Street Boat Ramp, that area there, and that trimming is more for safety. They start to impede on the dock in those areas. So we do use someone to trim mangroves for the city already, so we can have them come out and do an evaluation, see if there's any areas that we can open up a little bit. But I just want to be hesitant on committing to trying to accomplish a goal of being able to see the waterfront from the parking spaces, which isn't going to be a realistic goal for us.
Are there going to be any, in the plans of that area next to the river across from where the motel used to be, are there going to be any parking spaces right there? Because that would be a great access site for.
So, and sorry, they're going to tell me never to come back to a Parks and Recreation meeting again because I'm speaking too much. But that area is planned for a park and swing bench. If you remember,
Right.
We've got budgeted funds for that. So no parking spaces will be there,
Okay.
but it will be kind of an opened up area to where, and we'll increase accessibility with a sidewalk to get a little closer to the water. We'll enhance the shoreline there to get a little bit of more of a beachfront type setting and have some swings and benches in that area. So that'll be a cool park once we can get that accomplished.
What has city council decided on the property where the motel was? Where is that?
Currently, there is no plans to do anything with it.
So,
We have gotten an appraisal back on the property. That'll be coming back before city council before too long to see. Right now, they've kind of, we received no bids to purchase the property on the last RFP.
so is it up for sale?
It was, when we submitted for an RFP, we got no bids back, so we did an appraisal to kind of determine what direction they wanted to go. There's some challenges with that property and being able to really do anything with it.
Well, that's why I'm wondering, had we talked to the city council about keeping that as a green space?
Yeah, that's absolutely an option for council. They have that, right now, that's probably the direction they're gonna go. I mean, I can't speak for them,
Yeah.
but that is a really good option, and I think it's a consideration at this time unless something really beneficial to that area comes forward in a plan to purchase the property and develop it. And when I say develop it, I don't mean develop it in
Business.
a housing place or anything like that. I think something that accomplishes our goal and what our plan is for the riverfront area. If there's something that matches with that, that would be a benefit to the community, yes. Otherwise, I think they're pretty much gonna stay with it as being an open space.
Do we have any input as a group, any ideas that we can submit to them on?
You're
that?
welcome. I mean, any resident's welcome to submit any ideas for that property.
And when does it, we don't know when it comes back up, though.
Yeah, I mean, it probably in the next couple months.
Okay.
I think with regards to the riverfront, I'm always in favor of letting nature be. I think that's what makes this paradise, is we have so much access to nature. And something as important as mangroves, really, they're good for the ecosystem, but they're also good for the soul of the area. So letting them grow and be how they want to be is, I think, important for us. But for access to the views, access to the amenities, I think there might be other avenues for what we can do. Maybe we need more benches, more seating around there for people to get out of their cars and enjoy the area, if possible.
I think there's a lot of seating there, but like Joanne mentioned, I see a lot of folks that, and I know I do support groups for folks that are taking care of Alzheimer's and patients, and they take them there and they have breakfast and they're just looking at the riverfront. They're not very ambulatory. They're not really able to get out. So it's all about the view and kind of a change of scenery for them and getting some air. So it's, there's.
And I think that's the closest you can get to
To the
sit in a
river.
car to watch the river. Everything else is further back, even but next to Krabby Bill's. And I've parked before over across from the green area where we have the art festival on the river. Their parking lot back there, you can sit there and you can see, but it's not the
But
same.
it's not this,
No.
yeah, it's not as close.
But we need to keep them if we can, because they're needed. All right.
All right, if I could move on to the next item, we had some questions about the speed limit signs being put up at Easy Lake. They're about $5,000 each, and they last about 8 to 9 months before they need work. I got all my information from our sign shop, our traffic technician. He says they're not very reliable. They always need service. And if you look around, there's not too many left that are still working, even outside of the city. There's no option for a speed bump because that's a main thoroughfare getting through the city. Those are the only directions you gave me, and that's what I went with.
Okay, and you're talking about the solar permanent
Yes.
post?
Yes.
Like the one over probably on, is that Collier Creek?
Right.
The flashing one?
Yes.
That one's been up for a while, though.
And we maintained it a bunch of different times.
So you're saying,
It's a cost,
yeah, it is.
yeah.
But-
It doesn't matter to me whether we move forward.
Where
with
does
it
that
or
money
not.
come from? City?
That money gets budgeted through our traffic and sign shop.
Okay. I'm just saying it's something that the people in that area, because of the park and that, they're speeding all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
I mean, the
it's
only
understood.
real enforcement, it would be through the police department.
Yeah, they aren't gonna stop. And they really don't show up there very much, unless we could get a volunteer to come over and sit there for a while. It's just something we've been trying to get, so I don't know the cost. The cost is what? Is it cost of safety or?
Madam
Having-
Chair, if I may.
Sure.
So I don't think this issue is within the purview of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. So I don't think this is an appropriate discussion for this venue. I'd be happy we can continue this discussion with Ms. White or anyone from the community outside of this meeting.
Okay, who would we talk to with that?
You can get with me and then we can sit down and have a discussion and see what we can do.
And with the police department, maybe?
Yep.
Okay.
And another, you may want to email council members too of your concern.
Okay.
Antoine, you have more for us?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about park updates. Mr. Allen, do you have any updates on your parks?
Just the one update, which I'm going to bounce back to Antoine. I believe there were some, for Bryant Park, there were some updates coming through. Have we gotten those materials?
We got all the material. It should be Thursday of this week that we'll have the sand put in for the walkway going to Bryant Court from the parking lot. We just need time by Thursday to replace the bench on the opposite side of the parking area. And we did go out and treat for ants, and it rained. I went out and treated Thursday of last week. But I think the rain that came Friday took it all away, so I'll go out and retreat again. I was really hoping it would just stick, but it washed away.
It's been a very inconvenient dry season.
It's been trying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Denise?
I haven't seen anything unusual. The tennis courts don't have as many people as I normally see when I've been there, but with the weather the way it is, I think it just might be a weather situation, but the parks look beautiful as normal.
Thank you. Ms. White?
Easy Street Park, doing very well. The playground is very active. Kids get picked up there on their school buses. There's actually groups of people that walk their dogs. It's a very community neighborhood park. And we do have some more baby ducks, probably about 8 of them, and they're very cute.
Mr. Morrow?
Well,
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Boat ramps look fine. Pickleball court, I'm glad the city manager's here. We had talked about this a long time ago, about the sidewalk flooding, and it's still flooding. I don't recall what the discussion was about that once before.
Yep, we can revisit that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we'll revisit. I'll have Mr. Blankenship and Mr. Van Meer take a look at it.
Yeah, it's just that little area right there.
Yep.
Other than that, courts are fine. At some point, they're gonna probably need a paint job again. Thank you.
Okay, Filbert Park, I'm very happy to see all that equipment in, and I've watched more families using that. What I don't often get to see this, but I saw a mom with a toddler in the swing that's the adult and the baby, and that was so cool. They love the equipment there. There is still that, not where under the pavilion, but to the right of that, there's a bench there that is wooden, that is really, I wouldn't sit on it without something because I'd be afraid I would get some, yeah, it needs some work. And the one park that I really haven't seen anyone using, it's your park, Mr. George Park. They put all that new equipment in, and I hardly see anybody there, because that's right on my way. Also, Periwinkle is doing fine, and also I'm over at the Easy Street Park several times too, and so many grandmas with grandkids there. So the new equipment is definitely a hit. Everyone I've spoken to has been very happy with the changes that we're making. So that's very rewarding for me personally. So does anyone else have any comments about parks? All right, we'll move on to item C, which is...
I have a comment.
Oh, yes.
Like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you're too fast. I wanted to say, Specifically Stormwater Park, there's a big sign there when you walk into the park. It says, you must keep your dog on a leash. And I bring my dog there a lot, and he's always on. But I always see a lot of dogs just running loose. And I'm imagining this probably goes on in the backside of the dog park also. And I don't know about any other place in the city. But is there anything that you can think of that can be done to kind of reinforce that?
The only thing I could think of on the top of my head is putting additional signage throughout the park. You know how we have like red trail, green trail, white trail, maybe adding some additional signage in there. It's really, you know, you're policing yourself out there. You know, luckily you're doing the right thing. Not everybody is. I can't think of anything more that we could do. I drive through there about once every 2 weeks, and I do remind people that they have to have their dog on the leash. You know, there's many opportunities to take your dog to the dog park. Living in such a small confined city, everybody's able to get to it, and I remind them where the dog park is. I have the same problem on our multi-purpose field at the sports complex, where people will have signs up, but they bring their dogs out and they just let them run because it's a confined area.
I just thought I would bring it up, you know, because I see it a lot. I don't say anything to people. And, you know, for the most part, the dogs seem to be pretty well behaved, but there's still the fact that they're animals and you never know. You know, they may come after you. In fact, 2 of them yesterday came out to the parking lot, and then the owner called them back, and they actually went back. You know, but if you're just, you know, somebody that's parking their car there and you don't know, you see these 2 dogs come flying into the parking lot, you know, you're going to wonder what's going on. So,
Yeah.
okay, I just wanted to make a point.
Okay, upcoming events at Riverview?
Yes, ma'am. We have on January 12th, we have concert in the park, 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. On January 13th, we have a craft club show. On February 2nd, we have the Four Chapels event from 2 p.m. to 2:30. On February 2nd as well, we have a concert in the park from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Then we have a craft club event, craft club show on the 10th. And then another concert in the park on the 16th of February, 5:30 to 8 p.m. And the final is February 17th is the Sebastian Art Club. It's 2 to 2:30. And that's on February 2nd.
So, we just were at the Fine Arts and Music Festival for the month of January. The one coming up that will be a centennial kind of celebrated event in February will be the Art Club show. In February. Yeah, and we have a listing on our website, or you can come to City Hall and we can give you a flyer that. Yes, we have them there as well. Oh yeah, perfect.
Excuse me. New business, the US 1 median maintenance.
Yes, so moving forward on the US 1 medians, the city has decided to take over the US 1 medians ourselves again. I feel like we do a much better job. We take a little bit more pride in it than a company does. We're going to do it without any extra personnel. We're going to just pick it up as part of our daily or weekly rounds. So far, it's going to be myself and my foreman going out there and getting a good cleaning for the next 3 or 4 months and making sure everything's getting fertilized, everything's getting, you know, where the correct irrigation. We'll look towards October to start mulching it. So you should see some vast improvements in a few months.
Where does it start and end?
So it begins just north of Walmart,
Okay,
and then it continues south all the way past the No Name Bar,
okay.
and it encompasses that whole area.
And then after the No Name Bar going down is the highway? Who does that maintenance?
Right,
The highway?
correct.
And they also do 512?
The 512 is owned by the county, that's a county road.
Okay.
So they do the maintenance on 512.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Items for next agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to see on the next agenda?
I don't know if now is the right time to put this on. We've gone a couple of meetings, and we were gonna keep pickleball and pickleball courts kind of on the forefront of our meeting agendas. So, maybe we can put that on for February.
I also had that, just kind of a running agenda item, and in conjunction with the pickleball, we had those 2 county recreation meetings that was really great between the county and the city. Any follow-up? Is there
Yeah.
gonna be more of that?
Or do we know if maybe because of pickleball, maybe you're hearing something about us getting courts down on the side of Sebastian, out in the county?
So, I'll kind of go in order, so I know, Mr. Morrow brought up about pickleball on the agenda. So if we don't have anything to update you all on pickleball, I think we don't need to include it on the agenda. I know it's on the forefront of everybody's attention. We know it's something that's needed, but just to include it on the agenda so that it stays there, I can promise you staff is aware that pickleball is an item. You all are aware of it. And if we have updates, we'll provide those updates at these meetings. In regards to the Indian River County Master Plan, I have not been informed of any more future meetings. They had public meetings. They have requested information from the city in regards to our resources and our assets that we have park-wise. So we provided those details to them. It's an Indian River County Master Plan, so I don't know how much more input we provide input as we're requested. They did do a survey that I don't know what the results were of that survey. I haven't received when we had our community meeting here, I know they did the survey results on the screen that we could see. Have never received those results as well. So we'll reach out to them and kind of see where they are and see if we can get an update, but I know they're probably going through the process of meeting with their consultant.
Do they have a timeline for something like that, once they get all their information and then they'll say, okay?
As far as implementing the master plan?
Right.
I mean, their timeline's probably over the course of 10 years. Typically, when you do a master plan, it's gonna plan out the next 5 years, really kind of certain, maybe not 100%, and then more long-range 10-year plans, and then you have to kind of reevaluate every
But
5
when
to
they
7
do
years.
their plans and they say, okay, this is what our 5-year plan is, when do they decide that?
So they'll probably bring the results of their master plan back within, I would think, the next 8 to 10 months probably,
Okay.
from their consultant to be presented to county commission. Don't hold me to those dates. It might be a year. It could be 6 months. Since it's not a City of Sebastian project, I'm not involved with their day-to-day operations on that. But I would estimate somewhere in the range of 8 to 10 months, they'll bring it back to the county commission, and then they'll receive direction. Once you present the master plan, then you work with staff, they'll work with the county commissioners to see what priorities they are, and they'll develop their 5 to 10 year long-range plan based off of that master plan.
So in essence, then nothing is happening Sebastian wise, in the meantime?
I'm not sure what exactly you're asking.
I mean, we talked about it from the city perspective, okay, but then the county came along and they're talking about doing something possibly. So in other words, are we pretty much on hold until we hear something from the county?
The cities, we're not on hold for, we're not dependent on the county to do, we're two separate entities.
Right.
So, you know, what we develop and prioritize within our plans is what the city develops and prioritizes. With the master plan, the one thing that we try to do with that is provide input from our residents on what they would like to see the county offer up here. If the county, you know, in their master plan, if they decide to build 12 pickleball courts up here, then yeah, that may affect what the city's gonna do, because maybe we do have it budgeted and then that's gonna help, or, you know, we work out some agreement with the county. But you know, we're two separate entities, so you know, we have different priorities when it comes to that, unless some of the priorities happen to cross over. So nothing has stopped as far as priority-wise and planning within the city. Pickleball is currently not a budgeted project.
Right.
So, you know, it's something that we are looking at. We're looking long range, but we have other long range objectives as well. So it comes down to what's identified as priorities and what funding mechanisms we have to fund those projects.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mr. Denise?
May I ask Brian a question? Brian, should we sit there and make a recommendation to the city? I think the question is, do we want to wait for the county to decide if they're going to do pickleball courts? Is there a need for them within the next 5 years or so? And is this something that the city's should be, you know, thinking about? Do you need something from us to sit there and make a recommendation, or should we just sit and wait for the county?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna sit and wait for the county. That's not my approach personally. Not just gonna sit around and wait for someone else to build it for us. I think our approach is that we need to, and part of, you know, Mr. Blankenship's evaluation and kind of looking at things as we go forward is determining, you know, kind of doing a needs assessment on what are the needs of the city. You know, I can say today, maybe pickleball is 1, maybe pickleball is 2, maybe pickleball is 3. We kind of allocate and prioritize based on those needs. And I think that's where we then determine our CIP over the next 5 or 6 years. And that's the plan that we go with. Now, if we have determined pickleball to be a project that we plan out for 5 years from now, and the county comes back and says, hey, we're gonna build 12 or 18 new courts within the next 3 years, that then changes our priority a little bit, because we see that they're building them. Maybe that's not on our CIP going forward. But I think, you know, for us, we look at what the city needs, and then anything that comes from the county side would just kind of help us out and go from there. But we have to plan for what the city needs in the 6-year CIP. Does that answer your question?
More or less. I mean, when people ask us about what's happening with pickleball courts, are we going to get more or not? Should we tell them to go to the city meeting rather than come to us? I mean, do we still feel, I'm not a pickleball enthusiast, but I was under the impression that we agreed with the citizens that came here that we need pickleball courts. And I'm asking, do you need a recommendation, or should we make a recommendation to you? Or?
Well, I think we already made a recommendation last year at one of our meetings, and when we had several folks come to a couple meetings from pickleball, and we did recommend to Antoine that we keep that on the radar and that it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. So I don't know that, you obviously know everyone is interested in that, and I don't know that we have to make a recommendation every meeting. I think we just have to address it when there's a change, when there's something for you to tell us, but you know that's a priority, and certainly that's a community of players that are vocal.
And I think we talked about the price, how it's gone up since we put those last ones in. That was a money item, that one, and also where would it be? And didn't we talk about the airport, if there was any more property out there to add more courts?
So, I mean, there's obviously challenges with building new pickleball courts.
Right.
There's, you know, location determinations and
Yeah.
those things that are further down the line, once we get it, you know, get this entered into a budget, if that's how we determine it. You know, the other thing that we look at is funding.
Yeah.
How are we gonna fund this? So, you know, are there grant opportunities or are there not? There may be another project that jumps ahead of pickleball because simply we can obtain grant funding quickly. And it helps, you know, serve a purpose and does what we were trying to do within the city. So, you know, that's our goal going forward. I'm not gonna sit here and say that, you know, pickleball is number 10 on the list or it's number 1 on the list. That's not, we know that it's a priority. We know that it's something that's needed. It's our job to then evaluate and assess where it falls within our long-range plans. And that's our job to look at that, and then it's presented to you all, and if you're not happy with where we align it when we bring the CIP, well, then you make those recommendations, and then we show that to council and say, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee would prefer to see it here, however, these are the reasons, and then we let them decide if they want to reallocate funding from something else, and go from there.
Thank you. One thing that I would like to put on the February agenda is I would like to readdress, it got lost in the shuffle a little bit last year from a timing perspective, but this year is our centennial celebration. I'd really like to readdress the Volunteer of the Year that we talked about and see how we can move that forward so that in December that we will have someone to recognize as part of our centennial celebration. We didn't get, I think it was an application thing. I don't know what happened over the holidays, but whatever happens every holiday. Other things take precedence, but I think if we get it on the agenda in February, maybe we can throw in a timeline so we can make this happen. Any comments about that? Do you guys agree?
What do you want on the agenda then?
I would just like, if we can put it on the agenda and review the process that was developed, and then maybe how the committee members can help with implementing it and discussing it with community organizations so that we actually get enough feedback and potential candidates for the position. Does that sound reasonable?
And you still have the paperwork for all that, the applications and all that?
And I believe they had even put it online, Brian. I believe they could go online and throw an application up too. So if we could just revisit that while it's early in the year, I think maybe we can make it happen this time. Does anyone have any other thoughts or things to share?
One question.
Mr.
So
Allen?
when you're talking about applications, are you talking application or nominations?
Nomination.
It's a nomination form.
That was my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we are adjourned.